Hello everybody, today we will make it snow. We will create a modifier that will add a snow effect to any view. It will just be a modifier that we will add and it will snow on top of that view, whether it's a button, a simple background view, or an entire view inside of a tab bar. Our snow effect will be a view modifier. The snow effect will add it as an overlay. That way the snow appears on top of the view. To draw the snow, we will use Canvas. This we had already used on a previous exercise on this app in the login view. So let's copy this implementation and now let's simplify it. Okay, so I removed a lot of the code. We didn't need to go over that, but let's go over our current implementation. So we have Canvas, this has a context and a size, right? We determine the flake size by dividing the size width by the number of flakes. Then we have a percent. Then we have the X and Y coordinate using that percent and using the size that's provided in the canvas. Then we produce a point with these coordinates, and then we use the context to fill in a rect. In this case, the snowflake is going to be represented by a circle that's filled with a white color. So this takes care of drawing the snow. Right now, nothing is happening. We're just drawing the circles in a diagonal. Let's make it so that the snow moves. How will we do this? With timeline view. So with timeline view, we can change values over time. That's the point. We get this variable provided timeline, and we can get the change in time with .date, time interval since reference date. This value will be constantly changing, and we can use it to move things in our canvas. Right now, we will get the cosine of this to produce an oscillation on the x-axis. So we use this to offset the x-coordinate. And if you notice in our preview, this is moving a little bit, but not enough because the amount is so minuscule. So let's multiply this offset by the width. Okay, now it is moving a lot. So let's do it by a fraction of the width. See, 1/4. That's still a lot. Try with 0.15. Still a lot. But instead of using the size, let's use the flake size. Much better. Much better. Okay, now we have movement on the x-axis. Now that we have the horizontal movement, let's take care of the vertical one. Snow doesn't fall diagonally like we have it. The snowflakes needs to be randomly distributed. So let's add that random. Let's create an array y%. We will use a range 0 to the number of snowflakes, and we will produce a random float number between 0 and 1. Now for the y coordinate, instead of just using the percent and the height, let's use this random percentage. This way our flakes are randomly distributed along the y-axis. There you have it. Each time we run, they are distributed differently. That's much better. So now we have this moving from left to right and in a random Y position. What's missing now is that the flakes fall. So we will produce a Y offset. We will also use the timeline variable for this. And if you see here, everything disappeared. Why? Because the time interval since reference date is very big. What we need to do is bound this offset inside of the size of the canvas so that when the snowflake is about to fall below the view, it restarts to the 0 position. So this is to say every time a snowflake reaches the end of the view, it will restart at the top of the view and fall again. We will do this with a helper function. Okay, let's try our preview. It's not falling that much. We should, yes, need to multiply, same as we did with the cosine, the offset by the height. And the hour is not falling, it's falling a little bit fast, so let's multiply by a fraction. Okay, there we have our snow falling. Let's make bigger the value inside of the cosine so that the snowflake distribute more to the sides. Okay, better. Now let's add even more randomness here. Right now, all of the snowflakes are moving to the same side at the same time. So just as we did with y%, let's create another variable, xSigns, and this one we will do it so that we have a random value between -1 and 1. So either it starts moving to the left or to the right. Let's see. Okay, and there we have our snow. The moment seems more real because it's random. Our effect is now ready. Let's add it to some views. So in our login view, let's add it to the title, the one that says coding with tone with a background. There we have our snow, and let's add it also to the continue button. See that because the canvas uses the size available, the snowflakes are different size depending on the size of the view they are presented on. And here we have it, we have snow on these two views. We still have a problem though. I'm trying to click here, continue, and nothing happens. This is because Canvas is right now taking all of the hits. They are not reaching the button. So we want to place this as an overlay, but we don't want to block the hits that are from going through. To this, we use the allows hit testing modifier and we set it to false. We don't want the user interacting with our canvas. So let's run again. And now let's tap continue and we can go through. Let's add it to one more view, to this one. So that is our home view. Let's tap on continue again. And now we have snow in our home view. See that it adapts. Let's click on download. The view shrinks. And because we have our heat testing false, we can even scroll and do everything. Our modifier is ready, not blocking any of the views it is presented on top of. And that was all. Besides having fun with this exercise, I hope that I convince you of the power of Canvas. Canvas allows us to easily draw images and shapes in a given space, and when paired with TimelineView, it enables us to do very interesting animations. See you next time. Bye.